On Sunday the 13th of June, history will be made. Approximately 1 hour after the end of England's opening Euro 2020 match against Croatia, North Macedonia will kick off their first ever European Championship game against Austria in Bucharest. One of two debutants at this tournament alongside Finland, North Macedonia have achieved what many people thought was impossible for a country that only played their first official game in 1993, after the breakup of the former Yugoslavia. A beneficiary of UEFA's decision to expand the number of sides from 16 to 24 ahead of the 2016 edition in France, North Macedonia qualified courtesy of winning the lowest Nations League section. But anyone thinking they are merely here to make up the number should ask the Germans, with the 2014 World Cup champions defeated at home by the Lynxes in a World Cup qualifier in March. Today on EFD Explains, we want to delve into North Macedonia's extraordinary backstory, how a nation born out of war with a population of just 2 million people, which was forced to change its national identity 2 years ago, defeated the odds to qualify for Europe's most prestigious international football tournament. Let's get started. Following the collapse of communism in Eastern Europe in 1989, the former Yugoslavia was broken up into individual states. The rise of nationalism in these new countries, combined with a few morally corrupt leaders, led to a series of conflicts in the region, known as the Balkans, for the next decade. One of these new countries was Macedonia, situated to the north of Greece. However, its formation immediately caused an issue with its Greek neighbours, who objected to the new state calling itself Macedonia because a large part of Greece is also called Macedonia. Greek Macedonia, which lies in the mountainous north of the country, is incredibly important to Greek culture. The famous Greek Alexander the Great, who created one of the largest empires in history, stretching from northern Greece to northwest India, hailed from Macedonia. And it also includes Greece's second largest city, Thessaloniki, home to 315,000 people. So whilst the newly created Macedonia met the conditions set out for global recognition, Greece opposed the international community officially recognising it, believing its name without specific geographical qualification amounted to theft of its identity and cultural heritage, and implied territorial ambitions against the Greek region. Fast forward to June 2018 though, after decades of instability in the region, negotiations between Athens and Skopje, North Macedonia's capital, mediated by the UN, resulted in the Prespa Agreement. Ratified by the Macedonian and Greek governments in late 2018 and early 2019, this saw Macedonia officially renamed as North Macedonia in February 2019 and welcomed into NATO. For almost 3 decades, North Macedonia's football team has been down the pecking order of the nation's affections, with basketball and particularly handball garnering the most attention. It's little surprise when Vardar Skopje's handball side have won the equivalent of the Champions League twice in the last 4 seasons. But it's not purely the success of other sports that means the whole nation isn't behind the national football team. With the region having nearly always been ruled by foreign powers, from Bulgarians to 6 centuries of Ottoman Turks and more recently Yugoslavia, it is a melting pot of different allegiances created on ethnic and religious lines. According to the Financial Times, many Christian Orthodox Macedonians consider themselves heirs to the great Yugoslavian football tradition rather than the measly Macedonian one, and they continue to support the Serbian national team rather than North Macedonia. What's more, a quarter of North Macedonia's population are ethnic Albanians, and the FD claims that most of them support either Albania or Kosovo. But without Serbia knocked out in the playoffs by Scotland, Albania or Kosovo at this summer's tournament, the North Macedonian football team have a fantastic opportunity to stamp their authority on the national consciousness and create a sense of loyalty. It's easy to see why support hasn't always been forthcoming. Having only won more than 2 qualifying games once in a single campaign prior to Euro 2020, while Serbia qualified for 1 Euros and 4 World Cups, they were struggling to compete with their more successful rivals. But that all changed in the run-up to Euro 2020. Drawn in Group G, North Macedonia won 4 of their 10 matches, including a famous victory over Josip Ilicic's Slovenia, but unfortunately finished 3rd behind Poland and Austria. All was not lost though, as a place at the Euros was offered up to a team from Group D of the UEFA Nations League, the lowest tier of nations. North Macedonia topped a group containing Armenia, Gibraltar and Liechtenstein to set up a semi-final clash against neighbours Kosovo on October 8th, 2020. They triumphed 2-1 and were now just 1 game away from going further than any team in their relatively short history. Their opponents, Georgia. Ranked 65th in the FIFA World Rankings, 21 places above Georgia, North Macedonia went into the playoff final as favourites. Not only had they come from behind to draw with them twice in the previous 2 months, but the Georgians were missing a number of key players due to injury and positive COVID tests, including their talisman Ghent playmaker Georgia Kekvetsede. With so much at stake for both sides, the match was predictably cagey and ill-tempered, with just 4 shots on target and 29 fouls in a stop-start game. However, it was North Macedonia that managed to find the breakthrough after 56 minutes. Napoli's Elif Elmas broke down the left, and after a neat interchange at the edge of the area, the ball broke to 37-year-old Goran Pandev to tuck home a momentous goal which sent the whole nation into a frenzy. It was no surprise it was Pandev, a national hero who funds a youth academy in the country and who is so popular many believe he could be president one day. He made his debut for North Macedonia in 2001 and has gone on to make 119 appearances, one more than Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Robert Lewandowski for their respective nations. Even more impressive is the fact he has scored 37 international goals in that time, more than any Italian, Colombian, Senegalese or Scotsman in history. North Macedonia were into the Euros, and as if to instantly quieten the few dissenting voices that argued they didn't deserve to be there given the calibre of opposition faced, they started their World Cup qualifying campaign in brilliant fashion, with 2 wins from their first 3 games. As already mentioned, one of those victories came against 4-time world champions Germany in Duisburg, in which a late winner from Elmas condemned Die Mannschaft to their first World Cup qualifying defeat since their 5-1 loss to England in 2001, a run of 35 games. For a nation that won just one of its 19 games between May 2014 and March 2016, to beat a team including the world-class talents of Kimmich, Gundogan, Goretzka, Sane, Havertz and Gnabry just 5 years later was scarcely believable. Of course, no one is predicting that North Macedonia will sweep to glory on their debut, but there is every chance that they spring a surprise or two. A 24-team tournament means that a 36-game group stage will take place to eliminate just 8 sides, and the 4 best third-place sides progress to the knockouts. But irrespective of this potential backdoor to the knockout stages, North Macedonia will fancy their chances in Group C, which consists of the Netherlands, Ukraine and Austria. This looks like the weakest on paper, with Ukraine and Austria having finished bottom of their groups 5 years ago, and the Netherlands competing at their first tournament in 7 years. With the Dutch boasting the likes of De Ligt, De Vrij, Wijnaldum and Depay, the Ukrainians' top performers like Zinchenko and Malinovsky, and the Austrian star quality in the form of David Alaba and Sasa Kalajdzic, it certainly won't be easy. But after a run of just 2 defeats in their last 14 games in all competitions, North Macedonia will back themselves to make their mark. Former assistant Igor Angelovski has overseen the side since 2015, but has become increasingly flexible in his approach, switching between a 4- and 3-man defence in the last year, and utilising the latter to match Germany man for man in March. The most important thing he has ever done for North Macedonia, however, is travel to Genoa on his first day to persuade Pandev to come out of retirement in 2016, 3 years after his last appearance, and he remains their great hope this summer alongside Elmas. A Serie A legend having scored over 100 league goals and made 469 league appearances stretching back to 2003, the third most for a non-Italian behind Zanetti and Handanovic, Pandev is a 5-time Coppa Italia champion, a figure topped only by Buffon, Stankovic and Italy manager Mancini. His crowning glory was without doubt winning the Champions League with Mourinho's Inter in 2010, but 11 years later he is still going strong for mid-table Genoa, contributing 10 goals in 29 Serie A games last season. Elmas is more of an unknown quantity, having only been given 7 League and Champions League starts by Gattuso for Napoli last term. But having completed 1.5 take-ons per 90 and fired off 1.6 shots, he has the potential to both progress the ball and offer some cutting edge this summer. Another familiar name is Edzan Alioski, who will no doubt play a more attacking role than he does for Leeds, whilst the squad also boasts players from Levante, Stuttgart and Dinamo Zagreb, whilst dangerous right-back Stefan Ristovski was on the books at Sporting CP until January. Like many other nations at this summer's tournament, including England, the Netherlands and Sweden, North Macedonia aren't without their injury issues. Elijah Nestorovski, scorer of 16 Serie A goals over the last 3 seasons for Udinese and Palermo, has been ruled out. So Mallorca's Alexander Trajovski, who hasn't scored a top-flight league goal since 2017, is likely to offer an alternative to Pandev up front. Watch out for Enis Bardi too. The 5'8" Levante midfielder is something of a dead ball specialist, scoring 5 of his 16 free-kick attempts in his debut La Liga season in 2017-18, level with Lionel Messi. In fact, only Aspas, Dybala, Ward-Prowse, Kolarov and Messi have scored more free kicks than Bardi in Europe's top 5 leagues over the last 4 completed seasons. The only issue is that Bardi has recently tested positive for COVID and will miss the first game. As if that wasn't enough, they've also had to deal with a number of off-the-pitch issues. The North Macedonian Football Federation's president has been in open conflict with Angelovski and Pandev recently over a number of issues, whilst their kit for Euro 2020, designed by German company Jacko, was so unpopular with the fans they reverted back to the old strip. But Angelovski, who has won 46% of his matches in charge, a better tally than Frank de Boer with the Netherlands, is bullish about their chances, telling The Guardian, "Our aim is to go through to the knockout stages, and I strongly believe we have a group of players who can surprise the rest of Europe. After everything they have been through as a nation over the last 4 years, few would bet against it. We'll certainly be rooting for North Macedonia this summer." So guys, that was our EFD Explain on how North Macedonia shocked Europe's superpowers and what to expect from them at this summer's tournament. Let me know what you guys thought of it in the comments down below. If you've enjoyed the video, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel and click on screen for another great EFD video, and I'll catch you next time.